We know we're a bit late to the game on this one, but stuff came up. So we finally got around to watching Ne Zha 2, which is the biggest movie at the moment. It is the highest grossing animation of all time now. I think in China alone, it has exceeded $2 billion at the box office, which is phenomenal. In Malaysia, it is doing incredibly well. I think the 4-day take was something like 10 or 15 million or something silly. And so we finally got around to watching it, and it's all right. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Long. A lot happens. Pretty good.
I have this to say about Ne Zha. It could be about 30 minutes shorter. I think I would have liked it a lot more if it was 30 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
And while the movie is a lot of fun, it isn't anything particularly new or interesting. I found the animation to be inconsistent. So the animation is good, but I think a lot of the hype that you're hearing from maybe some of the other reviewers about how, it's so much better than Pixar and Disney is a little hyperbolic. It's a lot to do with hype. It's a little exaggerated. The animation here is fine. The action sequences in particular are exceptional. However, the quieter set pieces still feel like they're out of maybe an A-grade video game. And that's what I mean by inconsistent, because there is actually a difference between the sequences where characters are talking to each other versus the high-octane, let's beat the shit out of some beavers sequences.
I will say the environment animation was very nice, because a lot of this happens either around fire or around a lot of water or some lava, and that background stuff looked beautiful.
So if you don't know, this thing is based on Chinese mythology, and the first movie did incredibly well as well. This is the third movie out of their cinematic universe, but it's the second movie, which is about Ne Zha, who is our lead character. And it's got a lot to do with pearl orbs and demon orbs, but all of that feels incredibly irrelevant. You can go into this one not having watched the first one, and everything will make sense almost immediately. The only thing you need to know about the two main characters is that at the end of the first one, they lose their corporeal forms, right? They lose their bodies. And this movie kind of picks up immediately after that with their Sifu trying to restore their physical bodies. And then there is a long and complicated tale involving gods and immortals and restoring bodies and betrayal and all of this stuff. And it takes place over 2 hours and 25 minutes. And it's a lot. There is a lot that happens. And it is a lot of fun. Like, I enjoyed this in the same way. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but I enjoyed this in the same way I enjoy a Transformers movie.
Right.
It's not in the same way I enjoyed The Wild Robot, for example.
Yeah.
I wasn't particularly invested in these characters. Maybe something is lost in translation for me. But I can acknowledge that it's a very funny and it's a very well-made film.
I want to say I had a lot of fun, but it was just too long for me.
It really was, dude.
And look, and again, this isn't one of those things where it's too long because it's draggy. No. I want to almost say that there's no fat in this. There's so much that happens, from shifting allegiances to backstabbing to historical backstabbing to loss and love and family and just like, wow, shit ton of things happen in this film. And it's great, but yeah, maybe take 1 or 2 threads out of this because it's way too fucking long. I was, for the most part, I kept up with the story. I thought it was very simply told. Nothing complicated about the story. However, a lot happens. I enjoyed myself. Would I go watch this again? I might. I don't know.
For me, it was too long for me to want to watch again.
I know. I agree with you. But compare this to something I've seen recently. I'm like, maybe this will be the one. If I got free tickets, this would probably be the one I'd go watch again.
Yes.
I found it actually entertaining. I found it actually quite exciting. It was a lot of fun. There were bits of it that were funny, and I guess if you understood the language, it'd probably be funnier. I thought the subs were done very well. But for the most part, I was really enjoying the way it looked. I loved the way they dealt with a lot of the background stuff. especially when there's water on screen. I'm always keeping an eye out for when they do water animation.
Same.
And you're like, yeah, you're like, are you gonna fuck this up? Is this where you fuck up? I'm like, no, you did it pretty well. Like, they don't cheat out of it by moving the camera away. So for the most part, I really liked it.
For me, it was the action sequences. I thought the action sequences were really cool, well
Yeah.
choreographed.
Yeah.
They kind of lean into the wuxia style
Yeah.
of action, and it was supremely entertaining. Like, I was entertained throughout. However, I did feel the time pass.
It was very long. Yes. I
If
agree with
only
you.
because I go back to what I said about it being predictable and not necessarily new.
Right.
And it's not because I'm familiar with the myth that it's based on. It's just that it uses the hero's journey that we're all familiar with. And there's a reason why we're all familiar with it. It's because it's an archetype, right?
Yeah.
So this one hits all of those beats. And so even with regards to his best friend, even with regards to the betrayals, you kind of see all of these things playing out exactly how they would in a movie like this one.
Yeah.
And also because they're kind of setting up for a third film as well. Or whatever movie comes next in their cinematic universe. And so because of that, I felt the time pass. Because of that predictability. There was nothing in particular that took me by surprise. Like, there is a reveal of a villain, and I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, look at him. You kind of figured he was going to be the bad guy.
But it was also just because a lot was happening, and because it wasn't happening in my chosen language, there were points where I was like, wait, are we not on the same side anymore? Just like, wait, what are you doing here? Hang on. Hey, what? Wait. Also, they do this thing where fathers and sons look incredibly alike.
Yes.
Except for the one son that they're going to get rid of. That one doesn't look anything like anybody else. It's just like, wait, what?
The movie is fun. It deserves all of its success. And I
Yes.
think it's incredibly well made, right? So well done, China. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was the local box office, because I think this is really fascinating as well. Especially with regards to Chinese language movies or movies that speak to the Chinese community. When these movies blow up, it's often because the Chinese community has been mobilized to go to the cinema.
Yeah.
It's almost like how Mat Kilau mobilized a segment of the Malay community that doesn't usually go to the cinema to go to the cinema.
Yep.
And I think we saw it with Grandmother's Millions, How to Make Whatever.
Yep.
We saw it with The Journey many, many years ago. And we're seeing it with this as well. And what I find really interesting, and Grandma's Millions was a Thai movie, but it featured Chinese Thai characters, which I think is why it spoke to the local community as well. But I think it's interesting, Bahir, because I think there is a misplaced sense of national pride for China that kind of motivates this.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I don't see it as much among the Indian community with regards to, oh, this is India's biggest movie, so I'm feeling very proud and I have to go and support it. But I see that in conversations, especially among the Chinese community, and I'm wondering if our Chinese listeners can fill us in on this. Are your uncles and aunties and grandparents getting WhatsApp messages about Nerza 2? Because that's how it usually spreads. Because God knows not all of them are on TikTok and Instagram and following TGV and GSC, right? They have no idea what's going on. But I think there is hype, and there is hype that's coming out of mainland China with regards to how much money this thing has made. Also, this sense of national pride that they've made something that has overtaken all of the Disney movies and become the number one grossing animation of all time. Like all of that stuff. I think there is a sense of, I say national, even though they're not Chinese nationals, but national pride among our local Chinese for like this incredibly successful thing that has come out of China, and they feel the need to go and watch it and support it. Like, if you like it and want to watch it a second time, that's a different story. But the problem here is getting people out even for the first time.
I wonder if it's just the curiosity, right? Like, oh, this movie from China in a language that I like is making this much money. Maybe I'll go and watch it. So, for example, if Pixar's upcoming film Elio was to make $3 billion at the cinema, I don't think the Chinese aunties and uncles will come out and watch it.
No.
For them, I think it's the added thing of, oh, it's a Chinese movie.
Wait.
Okay.
However, my friend, Spider-Man No Way Home had that impact. Like, I remember the folks from Sony saying that there were people who were watching that movie who weren't on their radar at all. Like, uncles and aunties were going to the cinema because there was a FOMO. There was so much noise about this film and how it was surprising people in cinemas that they got excited.
Right. Maybe.
You're right about Elio, though. But I think Spider-Man has a pop culture
Oh no, but that's what I mean, right? I think
gravitas to it.
yeah, and I think that's why I compared Ninja to something like Elio, because sure there was a first one, but I don't know how well the first one did here. I think the fact that this second one is doing gangbusters, or is now the animated film with the highest box office in the world, I think that may be the one that's sort of getting people curious to go and watch it.
Is it FOMO or is it national pride? What's happening? If you're listening to this and you have an uncle or auntie who is like, I need to watch this Nirza because it's China power, let us know. But no, we think you should go check out Nirza 2. It is a lot of fun. Most of you might have already done so given the box office takings. But if you have, let us know what you thought of the movie. Does it live up to the hype? You can reach out. We're on Instagram, GogglerMY. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline, 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.